Now, I know it's kind of fun to rip on Megs Visaggio for any number of reasons, whether it's the Party City wig or the GoFundMe because she got bed bugs, or the all-in-all fact that she's basically a grifter, sneaking by on diversity hire after diversity hire and living off sympathy and general uncomfortableness. These are all good reasons to poke a little bit of fun at Megs Visaggio. None of these reasons are because she's transgendered, even though it seems like every transgendered employee at Marvel, or really a lot of companies similar, who they just basically, any criticism they get is just met by either them directly or other people calling people transphobic. This is absurd. This is a way to shut you up. This is something I experienced directly with the Magic the Gathering community. So I have a keen sense of what exactly is or isn't transphobic, at least for real, when it's really something to be worried about, or when they're just covering their butts, or somebody's caping for them, which is more common, especially in the comic book industry. However, today, Megs Visaggio, when she's not proclaiming violence about beating all cis people with a baseball bat, she kind of perfectly encapsulated why a large section of the comic book industry, or fandom, is upset. Obviously, comic books aren't going to go away. They're just a way to keep the IP fresh, so Marvel can keep making billion-dollar movies off them. I get that. I don't think Disney is really watching the bottom line of Marvel Comics so much as they're watching the bottom line of the movies. I could be wrong about that. It's still another business unit for them, so you would think that they'd want to keep something profitable, or at least understand why it's not profitable anymore. But Megs Visaggio actually completely encapsulated the current displeasure of most longtime comic books fans. I can't believe it. She's actually kind of a genius. She tweeted out today, your responsibility as a writer is primarily to yourself and not your market. You understand your audience if you don't put yourself on the page. Oh, I'm sorry. You underserved your audience if you don't put yourself on the page. If you pander to what they want, your writing will have no soul. Now, this tweet of hers was not exactly something that was widely favorited or retweeted, other than in a mocking way. But, you know, it begs the question, has she ever seen a classic movie, one of the most classic movies of all time? I mean, I feel like the level of business acumen, I mean, honestly, these days, you can't just write something. You can't just have a book. You have to also work. This is a big complaint about a lot of comic pros. A lot of people say, gosh, we didn't even know your book was coming out. You were too busy suffering from deranged Trump syndrome, and you didn't tell us that your book came out. Well, I'm reminded of a little scene that I think perfectly encapsulates this.
Sell more fireworks. I'm going broke with this venture also.
Well, I see you got them snakes and sparklers, but where's good stuff, man?
Good stuff.
That's right.
This is the good stuff. Snakes and sparklers.
Are you nuts, dude? You need stuff to explode. Go boom.
Why is that good?
You might as well ask, why is the tree good? Why is sunset good? Why are boobs good? Man,
Yeah.
firecrackers. You stick them in mailboxes, you drop them in toilets, you shove them up bullfrogs' ass.
I would never do that, because I'm gonna be a veterinarian.
Well, there you go. Someone
There.
shoves an M80 up a bullfrog's butt, blows him to pieces. He comes back to you to fix it. You win twice, brother. It's good biz. So you're gonna tell me that you don't have no black cats, no Roman candles, or screaming mimes?
No.
Oh, come on, man. You don't got no lady fingers, buzz buttles, snicker bombs, church burners, finger blasters, gut busters, zippity doo-dahs, or crap flappers?
No, I don't.
You're gonna stand there, owning a fireworks stand, and tell me you don't have no whistling bungholes, no spleen splitters, whisker biscuits, honky
Nope.
lighters, Husker do's, Husker don'ts,
Husker
cherry
don'ts?
bombs, nips and dazers, with or without the scooter stick, or one
That's a
single
good point.
whistling kitty chaser?
No. Because snakes and sparklers are the only ones I like.
Well,
Exactly.
your problem. It's not what you like, it's the consumer.
Ha! Yes, indeed. Joe Dirt knows more about selling comics than comics professionals. I'm not saying that as a writer or as a comics pro or whatever, like you just have to churn out something you don't believe in or that you don't like, just to quote pander. But what I am saying is, then maybe you should work on a book that you do that serves your needs, or you should find a different job. Because at the end of the day, you're working for the customer, okay? The customer doesn't like your work. The customer doesn't like your vicious, violent threats on Twitter. The customer doesn't like you. And if the sooner Marvel takes a little bit of advice from Joe Dirt, the sooner comics can begin to heal. I'm not saying every book has to be a smash hit, but just, I mean, you don't even have to dig to find these comic pros spouting absolute insanity on Twitter, which only then supports the absolute insanity that's going into the books. These things are related. This isn't like just a random one-off tweet or whatever, you know, they said a crazy thing this one time. This is like every single day. This is these people's lives. Working on these comic books is just what they do to get followers on Twitter. And then once they have the followers on Twitter, that's all they care about. And they'll launch another GoFundMe when they get bed bugs again or when they need a new wig. Don't you work to buy these things? I mean, this person is not a great human being. That doesn't mean they always have to be not great. They could start by not threatening violence on Twitter. They could start by not grifting people for YouFundMes for wigs. And they could start by not cramming ideology into the comics that they make. These are all things that anybody can do. And I would like to see Marvel start to weed out some of these people that can't keep their mouth shut on Twitter. Because the thing is, if you take away their verified Twitter because they work at Marvel, I wonder how interested they would be to continue to work at Marvel. I wonder if they couldn't turn Marvel into a springboard to go work at BuzzFeed or some other garbage place in New York. Like, how many of these people really give a shit about comics? Or do they work at Marvel just to get their little verified Twitter signature and hope to find some other garbage place to work that's going to accept terrible work and political rantings on Twitter? I'm not sure. But clearly, I think Joe Dirt is the answer.